have to admit, y'all, it feels kind of strange to go live after a week of silence. Feels kind of strange to go live after a week of silence. Let's see if we get some light. Oh, that's way too much. So it is about 25 minutes after 8. I wanted to be on a hair earlier, but I had visitors, and I've had a couple of sets of visitors today. It's been a visitation day at the Mama Liz abode. So it's been a good day. I've had a good time today. Watch this fall over on me. Please don't fall over. It just feels strange to go live after so long being not able to go live. YouTube. I mean, I would think that they would like waste their time on people that are actually like dangers to society, instead of like little Appalachian mamas that are going crippled and having their organs attacked by neuromuscular disorder, and just like to craft and talk about their simple way of life. But you never know. It's just been a strange week, y'all. It's just been a strange week. So, first announcement, I would like to state that Penelope, the possum, went home to her new owner today. So she is with her new little boy that's going to love her forever and take care of her forever. And I think they're going to be a match made in heaven. They were both so happy. So I thought it was sweet. He swore and swore and swore that he was going to take the best care of her. And I believe him, y'all. He even had a little adoption contract for himself and Penelope, so that, it's, it's a serious thing to adopt something. So, yeah, we kind of really turned this in to something that he would remember, hopefully. And something that would, really kind of affect, the way he thinks about things and the way he views things around him. So, I think it's going to be a fun thing for him and his mom to kind of work together with. So, I know everybody's gotten used to me being elsewhere, so I'm going to give it a few more minutes while I'm painting for people to pop on. I know Tuesday is an odd night, for me especially. I normally am a Monday and the end of the girl live streamer, end of the week girl live streamer. So we'll just give it a minute and see if anybody hops on. I will say I also found, maybe it's just because I've hit a certain number of subscribers, but I always use like the video makers that come with the music, that when you pay for it, you pay for all of it. And I've had like some copyright claims on a couple of my recent videos just since all this other crap started. And I'm like, why is there a copyright claim? This music came with the vendor that has, the licensure of use on all the music. So why am I getting copyright claims? So I've tried to go back and even actually add in a separate little blurb about the artist and the music. But they're acting as though I'm monetized, and I'm not. Hi, Gypsy. YouTube is acting as though I'm monetized, and I am not. And it's really confusing because I don't want to be monetized. That's not why I'm on this journey. But it's very strange the way that YouTube is behaving to me the last little bit. But that's okay. Maybe I've just finally got on their radar, and it's about as comfortable as those old metal plow seats that chafe your butt, burn your hind end all day long when you're raking hay. It's just really weird. It seems like YouTube has taken a very weird change. And it's not just me. I've talked to other creators, and they're like, no, we're going through the same thing. And I'm like, okay, it's not just me. It's other people too. Ron did a video today. And I guess, you know, in this, it just kind of talks to how convincing community chatter can be. Yeah, all media, it is. You're right, Gypsy, it's all media. But Ron did a video today saying that, I guess somebody, I forget who it was, somebody terribly close to him contacted him, was like, we have to talk. So-and-so said you're dealing dope. And Ron's like, it just kind of took him back that somebody that knows him would even, like, have to blink a half a second to ask. And I just thought I'd come on here in Ron's defense and just say, as a retired parole officer, probation parole officer, and retired counselor, that young man would make the worst drug dealer, in my opinion, because he says exactly what he thinks, which is very unbecoming for people that have to be very tight-lipped about things. He would be an absolute liability during a deposition or a hearing or a questioning, because he says exactly what he thinks. And there is no edit between the brain and the mouth. There certainly is not a backspace or delete. It just comes out. He would be the worst criminal. He always, you know, doesn't like to rip people off, and he always cares too much, and is, you know, if he knows you, your mom, your grandma, and all them. And, you know, people that are in a life of crime are not like that. They try to stay in these little hubs of silence. And while you may know the family, they try to make sure that you certainly don't know, you know, the relationships they all have. They try to keep it, you know, very anonymous and very questionable and very, well, I know they're related, but I don't know if they're close kind of, you know, thing. You know, he has none of the skill sets required, other than he's very savvy with the sarcasm, and he thinks outside of the box. Those are two things that would benefit him there. But otherwise, with his social skills and the way his heart is set up, he would be the world's worst criminal. He's just not, you know, he's just not made that way in his heart. He just cares too much. So I watched that, and I know, you know, it's horrible to hear people say bad things about you, because I never worked in the county I resided in until the very end of my career, and I was just basically babysitting a parole caseload for a lady that was fixing to retire. And so a lot of people never knew for years what I did. They just knew that they never saw me, that I obviously was not poor at the time. I am now, but I wasn't at the time. And my family was taken care of, and everything looked good from the outside, and they wondered what I was up to. Well, then people would say things like, well, I heard so-and-so saw her in a bad edge of town over in the next county over. Well, yeah, I had a caseload the next county over. I'm sure that, you know, when I did home visits, I'm sure they saw me in a bad part of town. I guarantee it. That's the only place I was when I went to do home visits, sadly, was in the bad part of town. And so for a long time, people wondered what I was doing, but nobody simply asked. Nobody that I went to school with, or nobody that was, you know, apparently on these social networking sites that was concerned about me ever just, you know, called my number and asked. So years passed, you know, I've worked for the state for a long time, and years passed, and I finally started babysitting a caseload where I lived, because this lady had decided to retire, and they were late on the game of hiring for her position, of course, and so they had to bring someone in that could work 2 caseloads, actually about 4, but hey, who's counting? And so for the first time ever, I worked where I lived, and so people saw me finally in an official capacity, and they were like, oh, well, now it makes sense that so-and-so saw her in a bad part of town. Now it makes sense that she's widely known in a what we would call a distasteful group of people. And I would have told them what I was doing had anybody thought to ask, but it was more fun for them to speculate and go on the internet and make up scenarios and create a big hoopla. It was just more fun. It suited what they needed more at the time. And they needed drama. They didn't need clarification of a curiosity. They just needed drama. And so when they finally found out, they were like, oh, well, that's why you're sometimes seen in the bad parts of towns a lot. And that's why, this certain population of society knows you. And that's why you're very comfortable with the lingo. And I'm like, yeah, I'm an officer. I just have never worked close to home. And honestly, I didn't want to work close to home. There's an old proverb, never shoot where you eat. And that holds true in a plethora of ways. But I just never wanted to work close to home because you know too much about people you live close amongst anyway. It don't make it worse by knowing stuff you really don't want to know. So I always tried to stay away. But when this lady retired, they had no one to take her place, so I got no choice. I was told to take the spot. Cover it until we get someone hired. And so that's what I did. But it was amazing to see what people could come up with. Just left to their own mental devices. It was amazing to see what people would come up with. Amazing. And so I know how Ryan feels with this one because it's been done to me. It's not pleasant. It's not nice to think that people will believe the bad things without any question and contact you as if they're going to then clarify and fix your life. It just always tickled me when people would walk up to me and be like, so where have you been the last 10 years? Working my butt off. Where have you been? Well, nobody ever sees you. I don't work here. And they're like, well, what do you do? And I'd finally tell them, and they'd be like, oh. And I'd be like, oh. It hurt to think that people could think the worst of me, knowing that I was like the perfect student, never got in trouble, was the very demure, sweet, kind girl in high school, never caused any ruckus, I never started fights. I ended a few, but I never started any. So it was frustrating, and I feel bad for them because I know it hurts, but at the same time, it's a great lesson because most people left to their own devices will believe the bad. The bad is normally, I can talk, easier for people to believe. We're programmed to believe the bad. We're programmed to go there first. Look at how media and stuff has programmed us to think the worst of people. We don't do anything wholesome anymore. There's nothing wholesome about our society anymore. So, automatically, people just gravitate toward gossip in a negative way. And it's sad, but it happens every day, and it really, really, really hurts some people. Some families get caught up in it, and it really, really hurts them. And I'm going to toss my camera over if I'm not careful because I'm painting. Whew, this could go south. I've gotten quite a bit done today. The weather, there's a big front, trying to move in, and I'm trying to ignore it, but I can feel it. The barometric pressure, I can feel. But I was going to sit on the riding mower today and feel useful. But it was so windy, David did not want me out in the wind with my ears still healing from all that mastoiditis I had last year. So he would not allow me to mow. So I finished up some, watch me, I'm going to spit y'all off the table. I finished up some projects, finished up the Highland cow sculpture I was doing. Got the possum to the little boy that I made it for. That was exciting, endearing. So I needed that. My heart needed that. I got a new ornament being made that is going to be like a sheep, a ram. It's either going to be a Dorset or a ram, depending on how the horns want to stay. So it's either going to be a little Dorset ewe, or it's going to be like a big Colombian ram, or a big exotic billy goat, depending on how well the horns affix to the body. It's got to dry. I sculpted the head and the horns, so it's got to dry overnight a little bit more before I can attempt to affix them. And it's going to be a pretty decent sized little ornament. See, gosh, I've done some. I'm trying to finish this one up right now. I've started the Willow weaving obelisk for my vining plants because I'm not going to put any plants in the ground this year. It's too much for us to have to work and keep up with and weed. So I'm just doing just planters. And I wanted vining plants, so I'm making obelisks for the plants to grow up. And I hadn't made these in many years, since I'd been outside with Granny and she had run out of bean sticks, and we would go cut on the edge of the woods. We go cut some willow or some vining something that was pliable, and we would turn around and make an obelisk for the last few plants where we didn't have bean poles. And so it took me a minute to go back in my brain to remember watching my granny do this. And remember, the starting point was the hard part. Once I got past that, it was, okay, I remember this, let's go. Because I enjoyed it so much when I was little. So, I've got a spiral obelisk about halfway done, y'all. My back is healing, but it's still very difficult for me to sit or bend over. Certain positions are still very painful. So, there's a lot still that I can't do. So, I got about halfway through it, and I thought I'm going to have to stop for the day. Then Lane and Kaylee and Chaytak visited me, and I've checked on friends, and I've had a few little strategic spots where I've sat in the recliner and put my feet up for a few minutes just to, catch a break for a minute. But there's one thing I specifically want to talk about before I leave. And I know that when Ryan opened his mouth and began talking about Summer Wells, it did a whole lot of good for the Summer Wells narrative. It's bringing a lot of people to the story that either were not paying attention or did not know, or was just at an age where they were not curious about society going through these issues, were not aware potentially of how bad this issue was. So it's getting a lot of new viewers, which is great. We need as many eyes on this case as possible. We need as many people aware of this as possible. This is great. That being said, what is really bad is that because Ryan is out there and speaking, and his viewership and curiosity has gone up and it's spread out, so now he's getting more views, and it's another wider percentage of the population, covering all age groups that are looking into this. And there's predominantly a middle-aged syndrome going on there, because a lot of the people that are worried about Summer Wells are middle-aged parents. Durr. So there's a whole new added fan group that have come into this because of the Summer Wells videos. And that's great, because they're getting to know Ryan and what Ryan's all about. And plus, they're also helping the story stay alive and keep going and growing. At the same time, because there's a boom in viewership, there's a boom in people conning people and making fake profiles. And I know it's terribly difficult, y'all. I know it's terribly difficult to know if you're being conned or not. Some of these people are very good at their con jobs. They're just very strategic. And I immediately, when somebody messages me over an app and pretends to be somebody, I just immediately do not believe them. I don't believe you. Turn on the video and show me who you are, because I don't believe you. I just don't believe you. I'm one of those people that is just with that built-in, nope, not going to fall for that. But I understand that there are lots of people that really want it to be true that Ryan would contact them. And I'm sure if Ryan had the time and the capability, he would want to actually speak to every one of his fans. But he doesn't have the time or capability. He does, however, predominantly stick to Instagram, YouTube, and I think he's on Twitch a lot when he games. That's predominantly where he spends his time. And I will say that if Ryan is going to be speaking to you, there's most likely going to be a reason he's going to be speaking to you, or there will be a dialogue happen in the comment section of one of his videos. That's normally where people interact with him. He doesn't do a lot of private messaging. He doesn't do a lot of sliding into people's DMs. Just be cautious when people do this and claim that they're Ryan Upchurch. I have been fortunate enough to have a conversation, and I will just tell you, the boy is very smart. It was all done through video on Insta, and every video that he sends can be viewed once and then it disappears. Super smart, so that people are not trying to tape, record, and use those in other ways. Super smart. And he makes it, it's very clear that it's him. And that's who you're talking to. It's very clear. There is none of this. How about, this app's really hard for me. How about you download this so I can talk to you here? Or I actually like to talk on this app a whole lot better. If you would download that. Ryan Upchurch is never going to tell you what to download. Ryan Upchurch is never going to tell you what to download so you can talk to him more, because the boy's busy. The boy's busy. I mean, he said okay to an interview with me, and between me almost dying and him being so busy, it's going to take a while to get it set up. Sorry, guys, it just is. And I respect that, because the boy's busy. He's making the money, and that requires hard work. That requires a lot of work. The hours he puts in is insane. He does not have playtime left over to just reach out and talk to just anybody. Now, does it happen? I'm sure at times he has said, oh, I think I know this person. Let me see if it's who I think it is. Or, I'm going to surprise this person. That's great. Bless his heart when he does stuff like that. But on average, no, he is not reaching out to talk to fans. And if he is speaking to you, it's going to be through one of his normal avenues where his profiles are valid, and you all know that. There are going to be profiles that he uses daily that you know are valid. And he's not going to ask you to then download another app and follow him here and go there. And no. No. And so I just want to tell people, be careful, because there are certain apps made, once you download it on your phone, they can just steal you blind. They can take all your data, they can mine all your info, and steal you blind. Please, please, please. I know many people want to have this, I don't know, they romanticize talking to a celebrity. Y'all, it's just like talking to anybody else. Y'all know he's just a person, right? He's just a person. Very smart, talented, witty, wise beyond his years person. But he's just a person. So, stop, take off the rose-colored glasses and stay logical, stay rational, and realize that he is not going to ask you for money. He's not going to ask you to download an app that's easier for him to use. Y'all know where he is. That's how he communicates with his fans. And he is not going to ask you for money or put you in a position to get on an app that could potentially rob you blind. Don't. People will be careful. Don't. I bet you I've had a dozen people message me in the last few days going, hey, I think Ryan Upchurch messaged me. Really, because he just had an album released. He's really busy right now. He's getting ready for the Nashville shows, making videos, handling this Summer Well stuff. In the meantime, what did he ask you? Oh, that he'd like to talk more, but I needed to download this app. Does that sound legit? No, it doesn't. So just be careful, everybody. Be careful. I bet you if I've had at least a dozen. If I've had one, I've had a dozen. Possibly more, that have thought he has contacted them. Believe you me, when he contacts you, you know it's him. He prefers video messaging so that you know it's him. And he will find a way to verify the time and date so you know it's him. But also, he doesn't always just reach out to people. If he's contacting you, there's a reason. So these out of the blue, I think he contacted me. Y'all be careful. Be careful. Y'all be careful. I would wish everybody could have, 2 minutes with somebody that they truly respect and admire to talk to them. It's a great thing. Just be careful that you are not blinded by that. When someone sees you and sees that you want that so bad that you could potentially be an easy target. Just be very careful. But I am tickled that he has spoken out, and I'm tickled that he was so straight with the Benny Keys and Candace issue, where he was like, I'll have a conversation with you all, but it will not be on any of this Cash App crap. No, that's the wrong way. And bingo. It's the wrong way to handle it. People have turned this into a personal wealth case. It's no longer about a missing person. It's about a personal wealth issue for these people that have taken an interest. Find the people that are still in it because they're truly concerned about this little girl, about what's happening to a lot of children across our nation, across our world, and specifically in the hub of East Tennessee. Find those good creators like Lip Locked No More. She's been on this every day, humble. Her heart aches for this young little girl. She's not trying to make a penny off of it. She will absolutely go after anyone that attempts to make a penny out on it. And she just wants her to be spoken about every day, and for her case not to be pushed to the side and kind of just forgotten. People like her are 1 in a million. She has no other desire than to hopefully get this little baby found. And that's all she's doing. And to try to make sense of the craziness that has become this case. So I'd highly recommend her. And if you go there in her chat, you're going to meet a really good group of people, and they can recommend other good creators. And she will allow you to talk about creators, but not negatively. You can actually share links to creators in her chat. You just can't speak about anyone negatively. She's got a really great chat program going on, and a lot of support, a lot of good people there. A lot of good people that can show you a lot of other venues to get information on this case. But last week kind of turned into the perfect storm for these con artists, because his views went up, people searching his name went up, people searching his name on specific apps went up, and it just opened the floodgates for these con artists to start reaching out and manipulating people. And sadly, a lot of people really want that contact with this person that they respect, and I understand that. But what is so sad to me is these people then, after they've been taken for a ride or something bad happens, they go, well, that wasn't him at all. I told you to be careful. I told you it wasn't him. I told you he doesn't use those practices with, he's too good to his fans. He's too honest to his fans. He doesn't do those things. And then they carry a resentment toward Ryan, who had absolutely no part in any of it. But that's where the resentment normally falls, is at Ryan's feet, which I think is ludicrous, but sadly it happens. And I don't know, I just think as consumers of social media, you have to be careful, and you have to be wise, and you have to be on the up and up and informed about who's using these apps, how and for what, and for, to what ends, and how they can be used against you. And WhatsApp is honestly one of the worst ones. One of the worst ones. But I was happy to see Ryan speak his mind about it. And I was happy for him to come back at Candace and Benny Keys and say, listen, I'll do the interview, but not if you're going to make a buck off of it. Not if that's what it's about. Because it kind of stumped them momentarily. Because everybody watching knew that that's what it was about. I mean, if I had a missing child, the last person I would care to discuss it with would be a celebrity to get their viewpoint. I wouldn't care. I would be so just stuck on my missing child and law enforcement and what else I could do. I wouldn't care what a celebrity said. I wouldn't get on the internet and say I needed to talk to them for saying bad stuff about my family. I would not care. I would be so hyper-focused on where my child was, and any opportunity of a lead to follow anything. We wouldn't even blip on my radar. But not only did she know that he had spoken, she knew what he said, and she came back to negotiate. So she spent all this time thinking about, how can I use this as momentum for me? And then she came back to the table to negotiate. That's a woman that spent a whole lot of time not thinking about anything but her, and how that was going to benefit her and her world right now. And that tells me that her priority is not the missing child. Because even if she desired help from him, it would have gone down like, would you mention her name every day? Would you keep this case alive? Would you keep your fans reposting and posting her photo and the missing paperwork, so that somebody may recognize her, somebody may know something? It wouldn't be, let's negotiate for an interview. No, use that celebrity to get more people to see your missing child, to know the specs, to know how tall she is, her blue eyes, blonde hair, how much she weighs, to know more about her. Not to negotiate an interview. It's just so tacky. But I was proud to see Ron hold his own there and come back and say, I'll do it, but not if anyone's going to financially benefit, because that is not what it's about. Have a poster say, this woman is making our community look awful. She's never had her child as a priority. It's awful. And the home is about 6 miles from me. Bless your heart, honey. Yes. I am in East Tennessee, and also I am just about an hour and a half away on the edge of the Cumberland Plateau. The story is very wide-reaching because, as you know, our communities are very, very tight, and our children are everything to us. So I agree 110% that it's not doing anything for the face of Appalachia at all. Nothing positive at all. I'm a retired parole officer, retired counselor. I've worked with kids that have been in state's custody and had addiction issues due to trauma and backgrounds. And I've worked with the worst of the worst when it comes to adult offenders used to supervise murders. And what I will say is that they are running a manipulation dog and pony show from the get-go. They have attempted to format this as a reality TV show where they make money. And back in my videos, I made a video that said if I could say anything to Don Wells, this is it. It still holds true today. Still holds true today. If you want to be the good people that you're begging people to treat you as, begging people to view you as, then there are certain behaviors that you cannot participate within. And there are certain things you certainly can't do. And running around and profiteering and helping others profit off of your missing child leaves such a bad taste in my mouth. And it is, you're absolutely right, it's making people view our region in a much more disdainful way. They almost have contempt for us now. You know, I am a hillbilly. I am very proud to be a hillbilly. We're a resourceful, smart, capable, hard-nosed crew. There's a lot of positives about people that live in this region. And there are some negatives as well. But the first thing I try to tell people is, you do know that these people have state jumped. They've state hopped their entire lives. They've lived in almost every region possible. They really had no roots anywhere until land was left for them. And you do know that everywhere they've state hopped, they basically left a criminal record. So to assign the blame to our region is kind of negligent if you're doing your research. Because you would understand that they really are a family without a country because they've just roamed. And they've roamed, I believe, to benefit their criminal activities. Yep, they moved here from Utah. Yeah, they've bounced around everywhere. And everywhere they have had negative interaction with law enforcement, negative interaction with neighbors. Basically, they've not been conducive to a positive society. They've not been productive members of society. And so, yeah, but the blame is being laid on East Tennessee. They're painting it pretty bad there. But you just have to remind people. And once again, it's because the bad is easier to believe and people like to assign blame, and it's the easiest blame to assign right now. And that's just how people's mind work. And it makes them feel better to assign that blame and then say, check, I did that, let's move on to the next thing. But I really think that Ryan is doing something very positive. He's showing that, hey, I've got the heart to deal with this. I've got the heart to help handle this. But y'all need to put your wallets up, because that's not here nor there. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you. Because there are so many creators on this platform that are using it to make money, daily money. Like, I saw a creator who had a sub, like, for several months in a row, give money, and then the sub did not have the money to give. I watched that creator scream at that sub, because the expectation was there that she should have that money. You created a routine. You made me depend on you so that I could make this content. You need to be paying me for this content. Blew my mind to watch that. It was such an abusive relationship, and I was like, and these people that are subscribing to these creators are getting treated like crap, and yet they come back for more because they think these people are going to sneak up on some information somewhere and blow the case wide open. And y'all, the probability of that happening is so astronomically beyond not even possible. But it bothers me to see what it's turned into. And honey, I'm just going to tell you, if you look at the people profiteering, it's not the people in Tennessee profiteering the most, though. Have you noticed that? Most people that have built channels off of this are people that have no ties to our region, And there are some that are doing it tastefully, and with certain crime channels, and there are some that are not, and that I wouldn't know that they would know what tasteful meant if it smacked them between the eyes. But it's just sad to see what this has become, to the point where our little redneck celebrity had to say, put your money down. It's not about this. And I was so proud of him. I'm proud of Ryan for many, many things. I adore him. I mother hen him to death. He reminds me so much of my own child that I kind of get a mama bear vibe toward him. And I kind of try to represent the Elder Creek Squad fan base. And so that's when we do get this interview lined up, we will. I about died and got really sick, and then he's got all these shows now that are happening, so we hit a big speed bump. But when we get the interview lined up, that's one thing I absolutely want him to know, how thankful our community is for having him say, no, set that aside. I will not deal with that. You people think, you're bankrolling, you think you're going to negotiate. Well, no. Wallet's off the table. If you want to talk about this, talk about this, but ain't nobody going to make a penny. And that immediately, put the brakes on. And I was just like, well, yeah, it was that easy. But I was just so proud of Ryan for sticking to his beliefs, and what his heart told him was the right thing to say and do. I'm proud of the boy. I'm proud to have him from Tennessee. I hope, with my health, I probably won't be around, but I hope I'm around to see where he takes this, and just, how far he gets with his talent and his skill, and his just desire to work hard. I just want to see how, where he ends up. But I was just tickled to death to see that he said that. I would like to see more people stand up for our region. It doesn't happen very often. There are some really good creators like Lip Locked No More, that doesn't assign guilt to the region. She knows that this is a world issue, and the national issue are just the hubs of transport. These kids are disappearing from everywhere. The hubs of transport are just highlighted because of the numbers that, that's the trafficking hub. And Knoxville was a huge one. I just got paint all over me. Knoxville was a huge one. The numbers grew so large in like a 1 year span that they actually took our training up from twice a year to, it was like quarterly. And because it just started happening more and more and more, and the numbers kept growing. And it was such a sad thing to sit in training and have to know all of this data. And there's a video down below where I did a data dump and just showed why people need to be aware, especially people at East Tennessee and around the Knoxville hub, why you need to be aware, what the numbers are, why you need to have your eyes a little bit wider open, why you need to help your children understand things a little bit better, because Knoxville is surpassing a lot of other urban areas as a huge trafficking depot. And it's sad to say, because I sit here an hour from it, but it's bad. The numbers are bad. So there's a data dump live stream down below if you want to go look that up. Or you can just, do a generalized stat search on DuckDuckGo and it'll pop up. I tell all the parents, look at your sex offender registry in your area. Go beyond your area. If you're close to state lines, please do a radius that's larger so you get a good bubble. Know who they are. Know where they live. Don't antagonize them. Don't, because there's a lot of different layers inside the world of sex offense. Because I've supervised sex offenders. There's a lot of different layers inside the world of sex offense. And not everyone that has a sex offender registry did like the most heinous, horrible thing. To be quite honest, in the state of Tennessee, somebody could have been taking a leak on a back road where a car hadn't been by for 3 hours, and the moment he went to take a leak, somebody rounded the corner with a car full of toddlers. And he got charges. That sounds horrible, but it is that simple. So when you start to educate yourself, don't take out the fire pitchforks. Calm yourself and try to understand that there is a very individualistic, nuanced conversation to be had about each case. And if you're concerned about someone specifically close to you, go and get copies of the paperwork. A lot of it is public. Go get it. Go to the circuit court clerk and ask for information on that trial, information on that hearing, information on that plea. A lot of it may be redacted to protect the juvenile, but you will still understand enough of the story to know what occurred and what level you need to put of danger you need to assign here. Just be very aware, and that goes for every parent in every state. You cannot get away from this type of offender. Because it shows up in so many different categories. It shows up as it's learned behavior, and then also it shows up with those that may have developmental delays or mental health issues, because they have issues understanding societal structure and what's right and what's wrong, and behavior that is approved and not approved. It goes across the board. It doesn't just stay to one income level. It doesn't stay to one gender. There are just as many women, and oh my goodness, some of the women's issues that I've had to handle in that regard were way worse than some of the men. But it touches every level of society in some way. So just go and read into it. Did you know that in over in Europe somewhere, it may have been up toward Finland or something, they are mapping the brain. And it's so weird because actually what they did was they created a virtual victim, which, I'm sorry, that just sounds weird anyway, but they created a virtual victim. And they put the offender in different scenarios with this virtual victim in virtual reality. And they watch and mock up how the brain lights up. And they're learning specific patterns that are only found in people that have sex offense issues. And so they're seeing these patterns generate, and they're seeing a consistency to say, okay, we can start to identify these people. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. at the same time, super scary. But I will tell you that the chance of like rehabilitation for this percentage of the population, very nil, because it is very much like a biological urge paired with learned behavior. It's layered in so many ways in the brain and with functionality. It's very difficult for them to stop. So that's why parents need to be more aware. Now, criminals in other capacities can simply walk away from the crime and can learn to function within a better strata of society. These individuals struggle more. The ones who abuse in specific ways, they struggle more because it literally is webbed into their being in so many ways that it can't be extracted. And that's why treatment for these individuals is so wide. It's like, just kind of throw everything in but the kitchen sink at it and just hope we're doing something well. But it fails miserably because we still just don't understand every reason behind the criminogenic behavior paired with the mapping of the brain and when they're maturing and the ages where when certain things occur can alter if they turn into an abuser themselves or if they go on to self-harm, or it's interesting to read about, but as you read about it, you have to understand that all this information was gleaned from people that had these issues, that went through horrible experiences and created horrible experiences for others. And so it's just like I had to read so much text about it when I was in school, when I was counseling, and it was so much information. I was so thankful for it, but I understood to get that information, I had to hijack that information for somebody else's pain. It was difficult sometimes to read what I needed to read to help the people that I was seeing in counseling. It was difficult, but it's necessary. And, there's never a time in my life when I've said, gee, if I'd only had less information. You always want more information, so go after that information. But, go look for the good creators that are, if they're getting money, it's going to a fund, and it's properly taxed and cited, and everybody can know that. Or look for people that are doing work that you want to see. Like if it's somebody that has memberships or accepts money, if they're doing things that you want, like if they go in and view the area and interview people, that's all great. Just make sure it's done appropriately and make sure it's done respectfully, because there's a lot of people like, I'm going to take you to 110 Ben Hill Road, and I'm like, why would you? Well, Google Maps. Why would you? Why would you put yourself in that area knowing it's the scene of an ongoing investigation? And why would you do that? Why would you go to a very small area in Tennessee and ride the roads? And these people that live there they've got to be seeing state tags from everywhere. And as someone that lives in a little podunk holler, it's scary to see state tags from everywhere start to show up in your hometown. Not knowing, you went from super small, we know everybody, to we have no idea who's traipsing through our hollow. We have no idea who's driving our roads. We now have no idea, what the percentage of the population today is made up by people that are transient and just coming through. So, think about the people that live there and how it kind of pushes on them before you pay somebody to go and kind of jump into that world. But if you find somebody that you think is doing these things respectfully and you want to support them, that's great. I can't tell you where to put your money. I can just tell you be careful, because a lot of people are turning this into a personal wealth event. And it's just, for me, I don't have a good feeling about it. Just don't like it. But that's about all I wanted to say. I wanted to catch up, and I'm hoping in the next couple of days that Highland Cow sculpture should be ready to be painted. It's going to have to dry. It is so thick. The riblets of hair are so thick, it's just going to take it a while to dry. I've got the sheep goat thing that I'm making, a little ornament. We'll put it together. It possibly maybe dry tomorrow. I am weaving the obelisk for the vine plants, and I will, after I finish this one, I will show you what it is, what it looks like when it's completely done. And then if I can bum my friend to come over one day, I can show you all how to start one. The weaving up is not the hard part, it's just starting it is the hard part. So if I can have my friend come over and tape me starting the weaving, that would be great, because I don't have any other way to do that. I need someone physically holding the camera for me, holding the phone for me. I will try to get that done. But just a lot of little projects going on while I'm feeling better. I'm embracing every day that I feel better. Got all my paperwork submitted for my insurance transition. Cross your fingers, pray to the Lord that it goes through okay, that they accept everything, and then it goes through seamless, and they pick me up April 1st, which is April's Fool's Day, but they pick me up, and it's a seamless transition because I cannot afford a lapse with my health issues. Cannot afford a lapse. So I've gotten everything into them. I'm hoping everything is what they needed so that we can just seamlessly transition. I already have my new pharmacy program set up. That's been great. And once again, if you don't know what I've been going through, found out that a lot of stuff is being billed inappropriately, fraudulently billed, and that over the last 2 years, there's been probably about $6,000 to $8,000 billed inappropriately that I actually had to turn over to a state investigator to look into it, because when I started to have questions and call the business and industry and insurance and commerce boards and the labor board, and they said you just need to talk to a state investigator. And so that's where they sent me. That's who I spoke with. He agreed something was up. Turned everything over to him, and I'm just trying now to get transitioned to a better insurance, which should end up saving me money, but also provide more of the care that I need, because when I got really sick last month and about checked out, they were denying a lot of life-giving, life-sustaining care that I needed, and so they were not meeting my needs. Well, good. We're going to take that as a good omen then, Gypsy. We're going to take that as a good omen. So they were just not meeting my needs, and there was a lot of care that I needed that I was not able to get through them or could not afford. So I had to leave them and look for new insurance. And I found it, and it should eventually end up saving us money because of the outlandish billing practices. And because now between the ones that I'll have 100% coverage except for a little bit on the pharmacy. So things should improve greatly for my family if we can make it through the next couple of months. And things there are looking better and brighter. But it has been a very difficult few months for my family. So, just very difficult few months for my family. So if you're under 65 and you're having issues with Medicare because of disability, please, if you have questions, if you're having concerns, my email is watersworkload@gmail.com. There are advocacy groups out there. There are actually lawyer groups out there. Find a patient advocate. Find a Medicare advocacy group. I found a great group, and I don't care if you privately contact me. I'll give you their information. They've been... I'm sending the man a Christmas card. It's just going to happen. But he's been such a wealth of knowledge and helped me out so much. I'm just so thankful for him and his group. And they've been great. Living in a rural area, there's not a lot of information. And I now understand, after speaking with the investigator, that for the first few months that I transitioned into Medicare, I was lied to by a lot of people. By a lot of people that should never ever lie to people, because it's written into their job that they shouldn't lie to people, like they take an oath. And I was flabbergasted. Now, obviously, I was very sick Oh Lord, Justin's back. I was very sick when everything occurred. And I was transitioned, and I had a huge hospitalization. I was super sick. And I should have done more research. But I also thought with the agencies that I had been placed into the hands of, that I had the top agencies helping me. Justin, as long as you're going to behave, you're fine. Just as long as we don't start with the back and forth trolling. But I thought I'd been placed into capable hands with these agencies, and what I've learned out now is that private insurances and Medicare are not trained to coexist and help. And so what they tell you will not be beneficial to the blending of the two. You actually need an advocacy group, and you need to discuss if that private insurance is going to be what you need, or if you need to go and get something else. And they have all these different plans and everything. And I was lied to, and I wondered why I was lied to, and then we found out, well, we've been lied to probably because they were siphoning the account that we have where we put in so much and it's matched. That agency, that insurer was then able to siphon those additional funds. And it was just all very questionable. And once I spoke with the state investigator, he was like, absolutely, it's fraud. And I was like, okay, it's fraud. I had a feeling. So, like, I had a week off YouTube, and I took down a huge scam. So, give me another week off YouTube, I guess. I do amazing things. I've got paint all over me. But it's been a very difficult month, and I'm bouncing back from that sickness. And I'm looking better, and I'm feeling better. And I'm just like, please, Lord, let me have good days and a little bit of a break between the next horrible flare. Because I don't think I can handle another difficult one right now. And y'all know this winter I've basically stayed in flare mode. I've had a few good days, but I've basically just roller coasted right into another flare after the last one. And this last one, because of the abdominal swelling and the infection, just about got me. And then I had the reaction to the antibiotic, and it was a mess. So I'm just hoping I have a few good days. But I'm back to my calmer self. But there were a few. Oh, thank you. If you want to see more of like my husband's art, you can go to his Etsy store. It's called Hillbilly Heart Decor. Every once in a while, I'll make something, and he'll be like, so, can I put that in my Etsy store? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. But he does fur art and does fur tanning, and you can't tell it by looking at me because the Scots-Irish genes are so strong, but I am Scots-Irish and Cherokee, so we do a lot of native-inspired art. We do a little bit of everything. I like to do arts and crafts because it calms me down, and it gives me somewhere to put my anxiety or my energy for that day, because I don't want to put it anywhere negative. And before I was disabled, I was used to working 80 plus hours a week, and so becoming disabled was a shock and awe. And now on good days, I have energy, but I can't like walk. I can't it limits what I can do with my energy. Arts and crafts, sit down, roll around, I'm good. I'm good. I didn't see it, but I'll say it again. My Gmail is watersworkload@gmail.com. Oh, the cow. I can't wait for the cow to dry so I can start the paint, because that is my first full sculpture. I've never done a full sculpture. And I didn't use the best clay, but because I'm learning, I didn't want to pay top notch for the clay. It's just kind of a practice. I think it's going to turn out really cute, and that's going to be probably one of the most important things I sculpt ever, and I'll be able to tell you more about that at a later date. Waters Workload, yes, at gmail.com. I've seen the Johnny Gobble videos, and I did a couple of things down below about them. Once I kind of do my say, I kind of move on. I don't like to spend too much time on it. But that was an interesting story because of the triangulation between the two and then Ron, and the way that they were triangulating that and creating this perfect storm, or and trying to intimidate Ron and kind of control the atmosphere. So it did pique my interest, and I did a couple of videos down below. But I've been so sick, I've not been able to do a lot lately. Actually, if you like the cow, I'm doing, and you like the chicken, Cluck Gable, there's a video down there, a few videos down. I started wanting to make this tiny little, like, ornament, like a shelf sitter or kitchen hanger ornament. I ended up making a 1.5 pound chicken. And he was beautiful, and I named him Cluck Gable, and he's already found a new home. But I sat down today and I thought, well, I want to make one of those smaller ornaments, doggone it. So I sat down to try to make a smaller ornament. And doggone it if I didn't get a little oversized again, but not as bad. I caught myself. Gypsy, you'd be so proud of me. I caught myself because I was going there again. And so I've got a little, like sheep goat little critter. I personally think he looks like an exotic billy goat. But his little head looks like a little Dorset sheep, and but I made the big straight horns because they're more striking, and depending on how they will attach is if he gets horns or not. He may not. He may not. So I'm gonna have a sheep goat looking Christmas ornament, sculpted, painted, hand painted. And I don't know how he's going to finish, but when I do finish him, I will try to do a video about it to post for you all. David has already been like, dude, I want that. And I've been like, okay, I'll make me another one. Because he's already looked at it, and he's like, oh, I want that. He's like, that's going to go in my shop. That is so cute. I'm like, okay, that's fine. It can go in your shop. But now the Highland cow, it has a very special meaning. It has a very special reason. And I can't tell you all everything about it yet, but when I do tell you the full story, y'all are going to flip. Y'all are going to be so, I mean, get your Kleenexes now, because you have no idea. Y'all know some of the stories I post sometime about how lives can touch and the smallest of interactions. It's going to be one of those tearjerkers. So go ahead and get your Kleenexes ready. But I've not got permission to share everything yet, but I'm getting there. Getting there. And I may even have someone else on camera. I don't know yet. We'll just see how that works out. But, and then I'm finishing a bigger wall hanging that I've been working on, because I've got to get it done, because I need my kitchen table back. I am slowly getting my craft room dug out. It no longer looks like something exploded. It looks like an avalanche occurred. So we're getting there. I've been picking at it as I can, as my body will allow me to do the work. I would like to get sat back up in there for my crafts and my YouTube, and had I not gotten so sick last year, it wouldn't have got to where it is, but I was very sick last year, so it looks horrible. But that's where I keep all my Queen memorabilia, and it's kind of like my little nest, and I miss it, so we've been trying to get it, like, it's still usable, but it's not, I wouldn't put a camera in there right now. Y'all would be like, where is she at? Because I would be buried in a craft heap. But when I get it cleaned back up, I'll be back in there. We're also going to be doing the where my husband traps. We're going to be doing the beaver teeth earring. I think we're going to be doing possibly a few Cody teeth earring, possibly a bobcat jaw necklace, stainless steel. Because y'all, I'm poor, and I know that when y'all go to buy something that's going to last and doesn't cost a whole lot, but still looks pretty, stainless steel. So I'm thinking about doing a stainless steel necklace with that bobcat jaw, because it would be the perfect little bar right here. It would rest right between your collarbones, and it would be perfect. And I have a jewelry kit that I think I have everything I need to go ahead and do it. Like my craft room, I do have a lot of supplies. A lot of what I make is just me running through my craft room going, oh, I can turn this into that, or I can use this. I've got 4 quilt tops that need to be finished in there. Everybody keeps asking if I will make my quilts. I have 4 quilt tops in there right now. I just haven't taken to the lady that puts the batting and the backing on, because I don't enjoy that. My mama does it. She has a big machine. I still don't enjoy it. So I send it to the lady up the road that does it. I've got 4. One of them is already being made for someone else. But I have 3 that could be potential sell quality quilts. One of them is a pinwheel. I've just over the years made pinwheels out of scrap fabrics and put them in the bag. Make a pinwheel, put it in the bag. Leftover fabric, make a pinwheel, put it in the bag. To where I now have a bag full of pinwheels. And then the other is just pieced. It's just a scrap pieced quilt. Nothing super special about it, but would be a nice, like, subdued colored lap quilt. And the other has got a lot of, when I was on like a fabric journey, and so I was ordering a lot of fabrics from other countries to get different colors and variations of it just, you can feel the difference in fabrics that are made in another country, possibly dyed in a different manner, and definitely have a different geometric or artistic flair. And so I got to where I was buying a lot of fabrics from all over the world and starting to piece a little bit. And I've got a top made from a lot of stuff that I purchased from over toward India, because I was really digging the colors and the kind of the theme, the geometric themes they had going on. And I thought I would be more attached to it. I'm not, so I'm thinking about go ahead and quilting it and selling it. But if I quilt anything and sell it first, I will quilt the pinwheels, because that will be the prettiest one. And then we'll go ahead and see what happens next. But I know you all have asked for quilts. I know that if I quilt that pinwheel quilt, the first thing David's going to say, because I have about 40 quilts in my house hanging up, as you can see behind me, and the first thing David will say is another one. And I'll be like, yes. And he'll be like, can I sell it? Because that's like the first 2 sentences out of his mouth every time he sees a quilt come through the door. And he will be glad to learn that this one I would absolutely make to sell. So I don't know what size. I even like to have king size quilts on queen beds, because I like for them to hang over and have extra bunchy room. You know, when you want to grab the quilt and snuggle in. I'm one of those people who like oversized quilts on beds. So I'm probably going to make it king, just because even people with queen beds like a king quilt because of the overhang. And then after you've washed and dried and laundered and used them for a few years, and they kind of soften and draw up, you still want them to comfortably fit your bed. So I like to make oversized quilts. So we'll see how many pinwheels I have, and I'll try to do some stripping that will bring out the colors. And then I'll try to do on the edge bands of colors to match the stripping and to make it all cohesive and to make it big enough to be a king. But it's very pretty. It's very pretty. And I am drawn towards certain color fabrics, so it's pretty cohesive. See, yeah, we all like oversized quilts. Just you want extra blanket. Especially if you're married, you want extra blanket. So, but I am going to go ahead and get one of my tops done and let it go. Just because David has asked so many times, can I put one of your quilts on? Can I sew one of your quilts? Well, I'm like, a lot of my quilts that you see were done by my mom, start to end, on her quilting machine by hand. They were gifts. They're embroidered as gifts to us. And a lot of them are people that, family that I grew up with, that quilted a blanket for me and are no longer with us. So I will not part with those at all. And I have some in cedar chest that will never see the light of day, because they're like my great grandma, and they'll keep going down the line. But I was going through my craft room and I ran across my bag of pinwheels, and I thought, yeah, I'm not attached to these. I made all these over a long course of time, but I could totally let those go. So I'll work on that, see where I get, and get it done, and totally will offer that up to David to keep his Etsy store balanced, because it used to be he didn't want any of my artsy fartsy stuff in there, and I just done this stuff and it ended up in my house or was given to a friend. Now that he's found out it sells, he's like advantageously taking stuff out of the house and be like, well, we don't need this, we need more room. And I do have too much stuff. But he's also being like, oh, have you tried to do this craft? Have you tried this? And I'm like, chill, Bubba. I have enough hobbies. But I do like to make the odd pair of earrings and a necklace or two. I've done that throughout my tiny existence on this world. But I like to make weird things. Y'all know. So we're going to be looking at beaver teeth earrings, Cody, maybe some bobcat, maybe even skunk tooth earrings. I have a skunk skull out there. And I think I may even have some otter teeth. We like to use, when we trap, we like to use as much of the animal as possible because that's, to me, more respectful. In my heritage, you use every part of the animal possible. You do not waste it because that is that animal's essence. You need to use all of it and appreciate the sacrifice that it gave for you. So I try to be as creative as possible. And so we're going to try some earring options. I already have a jewelry kit. I just been making a lot of beaded earrings for a lot of years when I was needing to go to court, needing to match an outfit. But now I looked at David and I was like, get a small thing of epoxy and your little tiny drill and let's go to town. We can make some earrings. So I hope they turn out well. It will be trial and error, the beaver teeth especially. The other stuff is pretty straightforward, and I've made antler earrings before, so. But the beaver teeth will be the interesting ones because people will either love them natural or they will want them completely crafted out and painted or gold flaked or something. And I don't know. I'm going to do more research and see. But just getting the epoxy in the tooth and getting the earring setting, that's going to take some major prayer, and I'm going to, seriously, I need somebody from MIT to help me figure out how to do that. But thinking styrofoam to where I create little holders while everything gels. And then the earring backs, I can hook them to the styrofoam and leave them dangled at the right angle. So it's going to be interesting for sure. You're going to buy that quilt for sure. Well, I hope you do. And if you do buy it, I hope you love it. My quilts are, I guess, made just like your grandma and great-grandma would make them. And the lady right up the road, throw a rock in her house, she will be the one that puts the batting and the backing and the binding. Because if I put binding on anything, I will cuss. And we don't want to hear me cuss. Because I do not like to do binding. Even though they have all these newfangled ways to do it, I was taught old school, and I hate it. And now that I'm getting older and my neuromuscular disorder is progressing, I can't use my fingers just right to keep everything lined up. It's not a good day in my house if I have to sew binding. It's not good. So I just try to avoid binding. But the lady up the road does a phenomenal job quilting. She's quilted almost everything I've made for the last decade. So I make the tops and send it to her, and it magically comes back. And I like that relationship. It works well for me. And I made a lot of lap quilts over the last few years, but I'm going to do a big full-size, probably, I'm going to shoot for king, but it depends on how, when I get my pinwheels spaced out and stripped, it depends on how the pattern looks. I'm going to try to go for king, but if I can't, we'll do a larger-esque queen. But we'll do pictures when we get it finalized. But I've got so much stuff in that craft room. And so right now I'm just kind of using what I've got and turning it into new things. And it's been a blessing because, and Dave has actually sold some fur and has had some local people come up to him and ask him about tanning some of their stuff that they harvested over the winter that they don't want to tan. Because tanning is, you have to love it to do it. I'm just here to tell you. It's just, there's nothing enjoyable about tanning hides. There's nothing enjoyable about it. It's all dirty, nasty work. And you have to be someone who loves the finished product and loves keeping that alive, that old way of life alive. Otherwise, there's no reason to do it because it is just nasty. I mean, it's just nasty work. But it's necessary. And, people don't understand, we need to keep those skills alive. It's so necessary to keep those skills alive. So, but most of the stuff in David's Etsy shop was trapped by him, skinned, fleshed, tanned, and so that animal was taken from one, living to a tanned item by one man. It didn't get shipped anywhere, get run through a processor. It was done Appalachian style, old school style, the old pickling method by my husband in our first shed out back. And so I think that's why people buy David's hides. They appreciate that one man did all of that. They harvested the animal and he did all of that. So, I've got a coyote head on my door, my front door. I don't know if I can see it. It's just a tanned coyote head. And I've got the curtain pulled out wide, but during the day, I stick it in behind his tanned head, and it keeps my door blocker panel like that. And David looked at me and he said, "How about we weave?" I said, "No, he's mine." He's so useful right there, and he does such a perfect job. And I've gotten so used to seeing him there. I'm like, "Nope, he's mine. I claim him. You may not use him." So that's mine. There's always pelts hanging because either someone's purchased them or they've had questions or wanted other pictures. So I've always got pelts hanging in my house. I know we don't live everybody's cup of tea, but it's our Appalachian life and we enjoy it. So, but y'all have been such a huge blessing during this transition time to where we're having to pay for one insurance because you pay ahead so we can stop that insurance. So for the month of April, I will have had to pay for 2 different insurances, two plans, even though I will only be able to access one. Now, we should be getting what we paid on me back. Lord knows when we'll see it. But it is creating a huge expense for us next month. And we think it'll only be that 1 month. But it's looking good right now. it's looking good right now. So I'm in a much more comfortable place. And as long as I can get through the next 30 to 60 days and get the plan seamlessly started and paid for, then things will fall back into our normal, life just, ends just meet kind of way of living. But the last few months have been astronomically hard on my family. And the last month alone, due to the health care and the friends taking care of me around the clock when I was bedbound for those couple of weeks and really, really sick for basically 3.5 weeks, it was very difficult on us because they needed me in a physical therapy. They needed a physical therapist in my home. They needed a nurse aide in my home, and my insurance was going, no. Well, she can pay, $4,500, and then we'll put one in her home. Well, she can pay $6,800, and then we'll. And I was like, no, I can't do that. So a lot of the aid I needed, I did not get. Thank God for great friends. And that's just all that can be said. Thank God for great friends. So that's how I made it through last month. And I don't ever want that to happen again now that I know the limitations of that insurance and what was going on behind the scenes that was not on the up and up. I just needed to transition away from them and buy another. And I found a great one. If all things work well, knock on wood, then next month a lot of the care that I need will be approved and will be paid for. It won't be $7,500 or, we've still got that huge kidney stone ER bill from David where we should have had the funds, but they were funneled elsewhere. But that'll get paid. It's just life. Crap happens. But just getting me transitioned to where my care needs are being met at a doable rate is going to be a huge, I just already feel the weight lifting off, just, So as long as we get transitioned and there are no problems, all the paperwork goes through fine, I'm excited that next month I may get some in-home physical therapy and start maybe doing some reversal on the muscle damage I know is in my back. Getting my new MRIs to make sure nothing bone-wise went wrong, because I am still having some issues with my back. And then checking on the atrophy. It's happening in my right leg because it's trying to atrophy just my left leg, and get that seen to and potentially stopped with the in-home physical therapy. All of this is doable with the other insurance, and at 100% paid. Between everything that I have will be 100% paid. We will be in a much better place, and I will get some care that may help reverse some of the last 2 years where I've lost a lot of fine motor skills and have the really bad tremors some days. We may be able to work to reverse some of that, and I'm so excited. So excited. Oh, you're fine. I'm just jib-jabbering, Jamie. I think probably anything I've said you already know because I've probably sent it to you in a message. So, oh, so this pinwheel quilt may be something that you actually, yeah, that you have to love. To make a quilt, you have to love to make quilts. Because it's something that's got to be part of you. And I grew up in a sewing family, and my mother was a seamstress for many years when she was just at home going to school raising kids. She sewed on side, and she made big elaborate wedding dresses because she sewed. You know what my granny did to make money? She sewed Barbie doll couture. So she would take like what was in at the time and then convert it into a Barbie pattern and make Barbie clothes. And she would sell whole sets of clothes, whole lines of clothes for Barbie dolls, and people would just snatch them up. And I was hoping that there was going to be a box left of her Barbie, and they were all hand sewn. I went through her house top to bottom last summer. Nothing's left. People came to her house to buy it, so literally she sold everything. But my Barbie dolls were always the best dressed Barbie dolls that you ever saw. So, well, this was not planned. Like, I thought I'd feel good enough, but I didn't. I didn't want to promise in case I didn't. But it's okay. I've just been painting and trying to get caught back up on a few things I'm working on. This is a wall hanging I'm working on. But just wanted to get caught back up and let you see that I am looking better. Doing better. As you all can tell, I've lost a little bit of weight. That happens when you can't get out of bed. It happens when you can't get your little fat butt to the fridge. But actually, before I had whatever occurred with my back and that flare in my abdomen, I had transitioned David and I over to a different diet to help his cholesterol come down. And he's lost some weight too, so I've lost some weight also. It's been very difficult because he is a man that does hard work and likes to eat. So it's been very difficult to get him to eat like quick oats in the morning and stuff like that. And I try to, add a little bit of flair and some fruit in there. And I even will give him a little bit of like fat-free syrup around the edge to think he's getting a treat. But I've got him on quick oats in the morning, and he has pretty much a vegetable strong lunch. And then I'll save his meat and carbs for when he's at work working, because that's where he's working the hardest. So at 7 o'clock for his dinner, that's when he gets his meat and carbs. And by the time he gets home, he's normally got another veggie-based snack. And then he goes to bed. And there will be a video coming, Jamie, very soon about it. We're going to do a taste test off. Because I'm trying to get Lane over here to do a taste test with the jams and stuff too, to get a vote to see who I likes the best. But if nothing else, David is very happy to accomplish this. And I've been like, this is a video quality. He's like, well, you've already popped that one jar. I said, I just sniffed it. I just had to smell it. And but now I'm here to tell you the orange marmalade has already been dipped into it. It's wonderful. But we want to do a taste test, and I just want to film David trying both. And because he's been eyeballing that fall jam, and I've been putting it off till I can tape it, and his work schedule and mine have not been jiving at all. So, but he stared at it long enough that he's like, I'm over it. You're going to wake up and half the jar is going to be gone. I said, we'll do it. And I said, tomorrow it's going to rain, you'll be home, we'll do it. So we're going to do that tomorrow. But he is allowed to have the marmalade right now. I've just been holding off the fall jam because that's going to be the first taste video that I wanted to give you. Doesn't mean we all have it stood in the fridge door and sniffed it to high heaven. That sounded really bad, YouTube overlords. I hope you have to back up and listen to that 5 times. We're talking about jam. Oh, but yeah, that made my day, just to get a little package that had a little bonus in it. That made my day. Yeah, I'm gonna have stuff show up, and when I pick it up, it's got heft to it. I'm gonna be like, jelly. It's jelly from Jamie. Take a box of crackers to your bed. I've never done that. But yeah, we've changed a lot, and I did a lot of change. My weight was stuck. I lost a lot of weight the year before last, and then it stuck. And David's cholesterol spiked hard last year, and I think it was where I was sick so much and he was sneaking food he shouldn't have had, so that I wasn't like cooking all the time at home. And so I finally said, nope, we've got to fix this. So I got us back on a normal kind of eating, but I added the quick oats in the morning, which has been really difficult for him. But he's lost way more than I have. But I can tell that I've lost quite a bit from where I was sick. I mean, I could lose half my hiney and it would be a whole celebration, so I'm not worried at all about it. You're already heading down the stairs to see what else is stashed. We have definitely enjoyed the marmalade, and the fall jam is meant for the special video. So, but I'm not lying. Listen closely, YouTube. We have stood in the refrigerator door and uncapped that puppy and smelled it. And it's just like, because we know it's going to be that good, but we've done that several times. And David has given me the, I don't care about a YouTube video look. And I'm like, please wait until I can post it. And then our schedules got all mixed up. But it's okay. It will happen, because if not, I'm going to wake up to an empty jar and a loaf of bread gone. And then we're going to have a talk about his diet again. But he's lost quite a bit. Of course, he always loses weight faster than I do. But, I don't know, things, after that tough spot, and if we can get through this financial stuff, our life will be able to breathe a lot better, and feel a lot better, about where our money's going, the insurance company that we're paying it to, that I'll be paying it to now. I will feel a lot better. I think life will be a lot better. When you feel good about where your money's going, and you feel like you've got some balance there, I don't know, I feel better. So I'm looking forward to this change. And it's like I told everybody, change is painful, and normally the more painful the change, the better it's going to work out. But I'm here to tell you, this change is about not me. Y'all, it's been the hardest thing financially. It's been the hardest thing because everything hit us all at once. And then to find out that we'd basically been stolen from. And for David to find out that his security in his matched money for his health care is not there at all. And his joints have been hurting worse than normal. And of course, he had COVID back in January. The whole family had COVID. But his joints and stuff have bothered him more since he had COVID. So he's got to go back to his Lyme disease specialist and see if he needs more antibiotics. And we're hoping they won't want to do a PICC line. He's done so well. And I think this was just from the COVID and all the stress that we hit. So I'm not super worried. But the man wakes up and goes. He works all the time. He doesn't know how to rest. And I'm always on to him to rest. But he doesn't know how to rest. If he tries to rest, he gets more anxious. So he just is a goer and a doer. And that's just who I married. But when he starts saying, I'm extra sore today, my shoulders hurt today, or I can feel the rain, that I know it's normally his Lyme disease showing back up, and we need to get back to the doctor. But he's done phenomenal so far. I mean, the doctor's like, you handle that like a breeze. So I'm hoping they just are like, okay, well, that knocked your immune system, so we're going to need to do a course of this to help you out. So keep your fingers crossed, that's all it is. My light is flashing and about to drive me nuts. But there's a front fixing to move through a lot of rain. I finished the Obelisk tomorrow. I'll video it for you all. I will try to finish this wall hanging and show you the finished product. It's so large, there's no way I can video and do it. It's just, there's no way. But when I sit down to finish the little goat sheep ornament thing, I will video it, because I have this and I can tilt it down. And then I've got dream catcher. I've had a lady ask me about dream catchers, which I make. And I make them with Willow, the way that I was taught by the little old ladies that sat in the tent and helped us all make our crafts when we were little at all the powwows and Indian stuff, So I make them with the Willow and make them with the appropriate intent and use, I don't do any like super special weaving, but I can do some things. And I try to personalize them. So if you want a dream catcher, I need to know things about you, or I can't make it for you to do what it's supposed to do for you. So I will have questions if you want a dream catcher. But I have someone that's got a few dream catchers they want me to make, so I'll have to do those. But there will be, David's gonna take over jewelry options on his Etsy store, so let's see. He bought epoxy and came home, and he's got his little bitty Dremel tool, and I'm gonna show him one time what I did to make those antler earrings, and he's gonna take it from there. So I'm excited to see kind of what he comes up with, and then if he thinks something needs like an extra flair to it, he'll bring it to me and go, here, fix it, and I'll try to zhuzh it up. But for the most part, you know, David's little venture has probably been what has saved our butt to pay for all this insurance stuff and this pinch we've been in. So I can't fuss at him, even though sometimes it's hard to get mail out of our little bitty town. I can't fuss at him. It's been helpful, and it's been nice to just meet people that enjoy kind of the older ways that things are made, and the older lifestyles and the older cultures, and it's not the new hipster native art. It's the old school, like you saw your grandma, great grandma wear. So it's nice to see people still really respect that and look for that and want to purchase that. So that's nice. But we've been through a lot. Boy, the last 2 weeks was just enough to about put me in the grave. But I made it through. And after having a week off YouTube because somebody was terrified of David's traps, I'm still laughing about that. Somebody saw a beaver trap and thought it was dangerous content. I'm still laughing about that. I will laugh about that till I die. But you know, that week off I think was necessary because look at what I accomplished in a week off. My goodness, I found fraud. I found a whole fraud scheme. Give me another week off, I might rule the world. So, but things are finally starting to come together. And I told you there's a huge lesson in here. I've learned a couple so far with the lying and deceit from agencies, federal agencies that I never thought would have lied to me. Medicare, transitioning to Medicare, understanding the interplay. If you have a private insurance and the supplements and stuff, it's so important to do more research than they give you and with other sources. Because I'm here to tell you, I was not told everything I needed to know. So I'm going to preach that till the cows come home. And whatever lessons I learn, y'all know I'll share them. Even if they're embarrassing, I'll share them. Because, you know, if I can save y'all the embarrassment not to repeat something stupid, I'll do it. But things are looking better. I'm feeling better. Things are going better. And we actively have the first month of my new insurance. We actually have the funds to pay it. So y'all can't thank y'all enough. Even my parents have helped out. And I mean, it's just been just blessings and outpouring of blessings. And I've just been, every once in a while I just have to kind of take a minute and sit down and just think about how this little stupid, rectangle phone has been a burden at times, yes, but has been predominantly a blessing in my world. So, and even on the week where it should have been the biggest of burdens, the blessing still rolled in. And so I'm going to take it as a lesson learned and a positive. But we actively do have enough to pay the first month's premium. Now we're working on the second, just in case things overlap still. I hope they don't, but just in case, we're just trying to be super prepared. The Jeep windshield will get repaired when it's time. When we have the funds for that, that's like number 3 on the list right now, so we're okay. It was just one of those, we've had a hard winter here, and God knows what happened, but we have a huge crack that showed up, but we'll deal with it, and we'll replace it, because it has to be a complete replacement. We'll replace it when we get the funds, and it'll work out. I have no doubt it'll work out. So I'm not going to worry about that. But everything else is coming together, and you know, those 2 huge bills for the ambulance and the ER because of the fraud and the siphoning of the funds, we're just going to have to pay them. There may be a possibility we get something later back in restitution. I'm not going to cross my fingers and, you know, hold my breath about that. But, or if they find enough families that had this happen to create a class action lawsuit, that's a completely different option that may eventually occur as well. Because it seems to have been happening in rural areas across the nation. Yes. Now, I've told you all many times, rural areas are bled dry because they think they can do anything there and it will not be seen in the light of day. It will. So, maybe I helped some people, you know, find out some things that they probably didn't want to know, but maybe I helped some people understand where the money was going and opened some eyes and stopped some mischief. Some illegal mischief that was going on. So, and if that's one of the lessons, that's great. That's great. But yeah, I don't want another week off YouTube because I need some calm crafting weeks to put myself back together. But I'm fixing to go to bed. I just wanted to hop on and say howdy and paint this and check in, let y'all know I'm alive. And things are going good, taking it a day at a time. And y'all, I'm so close to the new insurance and new possibilities for my health. Just excited. I'm excited. I don't want to be too excited. No, I don't want to jinx it. But I'm excited that if I get better health care and better options to some physical therapy and stuff, I'm going to recoup some of what I lost the last couple of years. And I'm just so excited because I literally do not leave this house. I never get to go anywhere. I went to one festival last year, and it was because it was literally 4 miles from the house, and I spent about an hour. And so I want my quality of life back, and I'm excited that with more avenues of treatment and more help to get my muscles and tendons and ligaments and my nervous system to work correctly, that I will kind of get some strength built back up to where I can actually go and do things. And yeah, I may be down for a day or two afterward, but to just actually have a half a day out of the house to where I can go to like a community event, y'all don't know. I mean, that would just make me so happy. Y'all have no idea how happy that would make me. Because I do not get to leave this property. And I haven't really driven myself since the vertigo issues with the medication and all that. So life has been 4 or 5 acres for the last 2 years. And let me tell y'all, that sucks. I do have good friends that do visit and keep in touch. And we'll call, even across the world, they'll call and check in. But there's nothing like actually getting out and attending a community event and getting fresh air and seeing faces you don't know and making new friends. And so I'm looking forward to new possibilities, maybe that becoming a thing. So y'all just keep me in your prayers, because that's where I'm really, really hoping that we can reverse some of these issues that have worsened, especially with my back. So, okay, I'm going to put all this mess up so that David doesn't walk into a huge paint mess. And then I'm going to I've been drinking so much water today. I've got to finish my water for the day. And I'm going to let Oscar go potty. Mr. Oodipode, do you want to say night-night? Come here. You want to say night-nights? Come here. Want to say night-nights? Oh, man. Come here, old man. Oh, you're going to cough now. My goodness. Did you get a hairball? Okay, I'll let you out. Go over there. My goodness. I have a pug with allergies. Does anyone else have one? It's a glorious thing, let me tell you. I guess we'll be giving him some Benadryl as well. Are you better? Are you better? So come here. Come here. Oh, you're going to cough again. Say hi. I'm Oscar and I have allergies. Okay, let's go outside and get your Benadryl. My goodness. See, I was sleeping so good, Mommy woke me up and I start sneezing. Yeah, something's blooming. It's got him all tore up, and the vet's like, oh, bless his heart. And I'm like, yeah. So, I'm giving him Benadryl right now, but we're probably looking at shots to give him a little bit more comfort. He's now stopped. He went to his other pillow and stopped. But he's the healthiest 9-year-old pug she's ever seen, so I guess we're doing something right. But I'll get him taken care of. He's still kicking. He's still with me every day. And then I'm going to bed. Probably be toward the weekend before you can see me again, but I will be doing small video updates of all the things that have going on. So I love yous. Thank y'all so much for the support and the prayers. And if you have a minute, toss up some prayers for Country Christian. She's going through a lot right now as well. Making a lot of decisions that I had to make several years ago and dealing with health issues and everything. Toss up some prayers for her. She's just, she's going through a lot of change also right now. And change is scary. We all need prayers. Keep her in your thoughts and prayers. She's sweetie pie. She's just become family to me. And not everybody understands us Appalachians when we get on the internet. So it's nice to find another one and be like, I speak your language. So she's very special to me. She's basically family. But if y'all could toss up some extra prayers for her, because she could sure use them right now. I appreciate it. And I'm going to go wash my hands, take care of my dog, and drink my water and go to bed. I love yous, and I'll see yous probably around Thursday, Friday. Bye, y'all.